Now, I'm sure most of you have been hearing news about the major fraud in Minnesota, but what is shocking to me is what the leaders have to say. Check out what Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, has to say about the fraud in his own state.
Instead of just saying, don't blame us, do you want to see more ownership and oversight from within?
Look, it's not law-abiding citizens. If that were the case, there's a lot of white men should be holding a lot of white men accountable for the crimes that they have committed. I think for the community to maybe educate their population, because I think what you're seeing here is there are secondary victims in this, that there's providers inside the community that are then victimizing the community themselves by signing them up, because when we're going to some of these people, they're like, I had no idea I was in this program. So I think it's asking us then, for every crime, which of course the majority being committed by white men, asking us to do more about that. I think it's crime in general.
I'm so confused on why there's such a major agenda to bash white men. Why is it that whenever there's an issue, it's always the white man's fault? Can anyone make any sense of this? And if you don't know who this is Ilhan Omar, and she represents the 5th Congressional District in Minnesota. And the majority of the Somali fraud is happening in her district. And if you couldn't tell already, she's a Somali. Now I wonder what she has to say about all this fraud.
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
Interesting. So it's always the white man's fault. It's never her fault. It's never Tim Walz's fault. It's never the Somalis. It's the white man, right? That makes a lot of sense. And what I find so interesting about Ilhan Omar, when she was elected into Congress, her net worth was around $65,000. This year, she reported that her net worth was up to $30 million. Everyone's asking the question,
where did Ilhan Omar get all that darn money from? Let's go through it. When she first ran for Congress in 2018, she was married to a Somalian man named Ahmed Nur Said Elmi, and she had a net worth of approximately $65,000. Not a ton of money, but $65,000. By 2020, a whole 2 years later, Ilhan had already divorced and remarried another Somalian man by the name of Ahmed Aladizi and Herzi, and her net worth was still right around $65,000. Yet just 4 years later, she was divorced and remarried again for a third, or perhaps a fourth time. We don't know for sure, because Ilhan Omar likely married her brother at one point to get him into this country illegally when she came here from Somalia, which, by the way, is a federal crime, and she's serving in Congress. And nobody talks about this. So by 2024, Ilhan's married to a new person, a white guy named Tim. There's Tim Minette. And Tim is not a rich man, but now he is. Tim's rich now because somehow over the course of the last 3 years, Ilhan Omar's net worth has skyrocketed to over $30 million and counting, meaning she went from having right around $65,000 to $30 million in 3 years. Think about that. Powerball drawing is tonight. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Ilhan Omar did not win the lottery. Bernie Madoff was cheating, and he still wasn't doing that well. That is a 46,000% increase in less than 3 years. Now, how do you suppose that happened? Do you really expect us all to believe that she just played the stock market like she's got a great investor and they just got kind of lucky over the course of the Biden presidency? And why are we the only ones asking these questions tonight? So once again, where did Ilhan Omar get all that money? And why is she trying to make Americans feel bad for Somalian criminals?
And I'm just so tired from both sides. Whether you're left or right, this country's filled with politicians who are bought and paid for. We have US representatives who look like Ilhan Omar, who's a Muslim, who married her brother. Like, what type of joke is this? This country is steering away from being America first. And you might think I'm just overreacting, but I'm not. If you didn't know already, Minnesota state flag has changed. Now, you see that blue flag in the background? That was Minnesota state flag last year. And you see Tim Walz right in the front? Let's see what he has to say.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute.
Wow, new flag.
There, that's better.
You know, the first flag didn't look like an ordinary state flag. If you didn't know I'm being sarcastic, that looks like a normal state, American state flag. And he brings this flag over. And you might be asking, why would they change it? You know, what's the point? Well, if you look at Somalia's flag, now I see why he changed it. So we now have Minnesota's state flag that resembles a Somali flag in America. We're staring further and further away from a Christian nation. This is why it should be mandatory for every politician to be a Christian and to make this country Christ-centered. No dual allegiances, nothing out the ordinary. And I bet if this was truly a real Christian nation, this level of fraud would not be happening. If you enjoyed this message, share it so we know and let me know your thoughts in the comments.